Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, thirsty, groggy, just trying to get to the kitchen. You shuffle toward the familiar creak of the hallway floorboards, reach for the door you've opened 100 times before, and suddenly, you're standing in a kitchen that's just slightly off. The counters are marble, not laminate. There's a wedding photo on the fridge of you and someone you've never met, and outside the window, the skyline looks like a city you don't remember moving to. You blink, confused, rub your eyes, but when you turn back to the hallway door, it's gone. Or at least, it doesn't lead home. Because what if each door in your house led to a slightly different version of your life, and those versions changed every single night? At first, it might seem like a glitch in your own memory, like déjà vu turned up to 11. One door leads to a version of your life where you never quit that job you hated, but you're rich now, successful, respected. Another leads to a home where you're still with someone you loved but lost. In one, your childhood dog never died. In another, your walls are lined with trophies you never remember winning. It's your house almost. But the photographs, the smells, the layout of the furniture, they all hum with the dissonance of a life not quite your own. And every night, the connections reshuffle. Open the bathroom door at 10 p.m. You might find yourself brushing your teeth in a life where you became an astronaut. Open it at 2 a.m., and now you're a hermit in a cabin that exists in complete silence, with a bookshelf full of journals you apparently wrote entries you don't recall writing, but written in your unmistakable handwriting. The science of it, if there is any, would baffle even the most brilliant minds. Quantum decoherence? Multiversal bleed? Some unknown neurological resonance between your consciousness and parallel dimensions. Theories would explode across every field. Physicists trying to trap and study the doorways. Psychologists questioning if identity can survive such fluidity. Theologians grappling with the metaphysical implications of lives we never lived but somehow own. But for you, the one living inside this shifting labyrinth of selves, it's less about science and more about sensation. The surreal mix of awe and terror when you realize your house is no longer a static place, but a kind of kaleidoscopic keyhole into infinity. Social dynamics begin to fracture. How do you explain to your partner that last night you met a version of them who still plays piano and hates coffee? Or that you tucked in your child only to discover that in this version of your life, they don't exist? Relationships become unstable, not because people change, but because you see every permutation of who they could be and who you could be with them. The boundaries of love and identity blur. Who are you when your every version is just a doorway away? Do you begin to choose doors based on who you want to be? And what happens when you find a version so perfect, so painfully ideal, that you don't want to leave ... even when your real life is knocking on the other side? Governments would get involved. Of course, surveillance, experiments, maybe even militarization. A house becomes a weapon, a portal, a liability. Real estate changes forever. Every home with a doorway becomes a potential threat or a priceless treasure. You wouldn't just buy a house for its square footage anymore. You'd ask, how many versions of myself does this house connect to? Philosophers hold emergency conferences to redefine what the self even is. The term home becomes obsolete because when every room could lead you somewhere new, stability becomes a myth. And emotionally, the human psyche, not built for such existential vertigo, begins to crack under the weight of infinite identity. Some become addicted to the exploration doorwalkers, slipping through realities like tourists in their own life. Others barricade themselves in a single room, terrified of what they might find or become if they step through. And then there's the ultimate question. Is this phenomenon unique to you? Or are millions quietly living through their own shifting homes, never speaking of it, afraid to be labeled mad? Maybe this whole thing is a test, a maze, a reflection of a fractured multiverse realigning itself through you. Or maybe it's your consciousness unraveling, stretched too thin across too many timelines, fraying at the edges. Every night, you wonder, will you wake up in your own bed tomorrow? Or in someone else's dream of you? One day, you open a door and find not a different version of your life, but dozens of doors waiting inside, stacked like nesting dolls, each one whispering with lives unlived. And as you stand there, hand hovering over a doorknob that hums with possibility, you realize the most terrifying part isn't that these doors exist, it's that you want to know what's behind all of them.